All right. Welcome to Love Symposiums, and today we're going to be interviewing Susan Sunflower, our very first interview. Yay! Thank you, Susan, for joining us. And we are doing documentaries about humanity, life experiences, and I trust that in each and every share, there are words of wisdom and inspiration we can all embrace as we lift each other up and help each other out on this thing we call life, this life adventure. So now let's meet Susan Sunflower. We're finding her at home. And Susan, we are here to just explore your inspirations and the pivotal moments in your life and the people along your journey that have changed your life. So with no further ado, Susan, take it away. Tell us about you and maybe where would you like to start? It's such an
Well,
inspirational
let's
life.
start early on with two very inspirational women. One was my mom. I don't think I realized how fantastic she was until much later in life. But there are some things that stood out very early on. One, and I think you've heard this from me before, actually. One was that by the time I was age 6, if not younger, she was saying, "You stand on your own 2 feet. You've heard this before, right?
Whoa.
You, oh, you have? Oh, I thought I'd done this with everybody. You look at all the options, you make your choice, and you take the consequences." And that was quite unusual for a girl child in the 50s to be told. And it was very unusual for a single mom who had been raised by her great aunt and her grandmother. But she did it. I mean, bless her heart, she did it. And that later got interpreted in my mind to no matter what the situation, you step forward and you smile and say yes, you know.
Put on your
So,
best face.
places, yes. And the other person that really was incredible was a woman named Erica, who was a German um teenager during World War II in some major, I think she was the son of the mayor or the burgomaster of Berlin, but maybe it was Munich or some other big town. And at one point, and she was blonde and blue-eyed, the perfect Aryan teenager, charming because she was European, you know, great manners. She always had those. And Hitler came to some reception and he stuck out his hand to shake. And she put her hands behind her back and everybody went, "Oh." And she said, "No, I don't shake with." And I don't know what her exact words were, but she was smart enough, well educated enough, curious enough, thoughtful enough to have figured out what was going on in Germany in the early 40s. And she wasn't going to be a part of it. For a lot of people, this was not surprising, especially because by the time she was 5, Erica had learned to meditate, or else people just noticed that she'd begun meditating. And she did that her entire life, and she was a wonderful example. I would have times with her when I was young, oh, actually, her eldest son, Michael, is my longest friend. We were together in second grade, and we're still in communication and visiting and all that stuff.
That's so cool.
It is. It's wonderful, really. And it's amazing how well we know each other,
I
even with
imagine.
many, many years gaps. Yeah, it's amazing. And so um, I spent a lot of time in important parts of my life with Erica. And she was actually my mother's friend, but because I was the child, I was just included right in. And so those were two wonderful women that just were quite stellar. There were a couple of professors. That's more classic and standard. Um, and then there's often in a situation there's someone who does a stunning thing, and that's very inspiring to me. And one of the things that just happened here in the States, this is February 2018. And in the States, we have a lot of political upheaval. And uh, man in the White House, one of the staff, was recently revealed to be a spousal abuser, and two wives some time back, a year or more back, actually quite a lot longer than that, had filed charges against him to keep him from beating them up anymore. And they later divorced, on and on. And these two women came out and made a statement, I believe in part because they had made statements to the FBI when this man was investigated for the White House staff to have security clearances, that and nothing had happened. And so I believe that might be why they came out. But one of the wives has been so thoughtful and analytical. She's given some of the best analysis I've ever heard about what happens with people who look perfectly normal, act rationally, produce well, but in love relationships, the culture and their own problems come rushing forward, and there's no way out for them if they don't get outside help.
Yes.
So that woman, I'm still running images of her through my head in terms of what she's done on TV to be very balanced, to be much more explanatory, no pointing fingers, no cut off his head, drop him out of his job, none of that. But this is the issue, and I'm concerned about his current girlfriend, and this is what needs to be dealt with, and it can be done. And it was she's brilliant. She set me off in a long thinking pattern, actually. So I'm quite impressed with people like that when they manage a small step to be articulate in a small time.
So amazing too, because what she did, like you said, she didn't point any fingers, she didn't place blame, she just said, this is a situation, and it's a situation that applies to millions across the board, but it needs to be addressed, right? We need to get over this, we need to protect ourselves, and that's so
she also said he needs to be helped to stop this.
Yes.
And that was brilliant.
Yes.
And he can be.
Thank you for that share. I wasn't aware here in South Korea. And I'm on Valentine's Day, by the way. Happy Valentine's Day early.
Well, it is. No, well, tomorrow.
Yeah,
but.
for you. Yeah, so that's amazing too. And you were saying about your mother back in the day that she told you to, I love that she said for you to stand, on your own 2 feet, make your own decision, and then accept your consequences. And you were telling me earlier that you hadn't really realized how much your mother had an influence over your life. And tell me how standing in your own truth has led towards your path that you've been on.
Say that again. How what?
How standing in your own truth, making your own choices, and taking your own credit or your own blame, I guess, for your choices. Has that been your path? Was that something that led you?
Well, yes. It's most obvious when other people object to what you've done, whether it's oh, come on. All I can think of are the most classic one is during the Vietnam War. Many people were upset, mostly young people, and many of us did nonviolent street actions, like sitting in the doorways of induction centers so that young men would have to stop and think before they went in to be drafted. And that's before the voluntary army in this country. Everybody who did not have special political or rich, if you weren't white and rich and male, you got drafted. And there were lots of studies on this, so nobody can pick a bone with that at this point. But a lot of us ended up going to jail for that. And that was upsetting to a lot of my family, including my mom. And she showed up in jail and looked across it's literally a grill, and said, "How could you do this to me?"
Did you remind her?
And I said, "But Mom, you said." And you know what she said? She said, "I know it, but this is not what I meant." I loved it. She eventually loved it.
Because you took a stance, and how difficult is that for so many of us that feel something in our heart that we should do something or take a stand, but we're so afraid to do that for the ramifications that might happen, right? But you were not afraid. Much like
Yeah.
Erica, your friend Erica.
Yeah. Yeah. And one assumes that I was inspired by her in part. And all the stories I read as a kid, and all that stuff that you do. But there's another thing that I've discovered. People have different body reactions when they're in fear or at risk, and um, like all the people that the firefighters, the way soldiers are trained, well, especially firefighters because they choose that, and they've told me that it's an adrenaline rush for them, and so it's not scary. And I thought about that, and that's certainly not what I feel, but I suspect what I do is similar to lots of other people. If I think something's right and I'm going to have to take this really scary step, I go numb. And I think it's a blessing, so that I charge right ahead. I feel nothing until later when I can fall apart with the shakes and tears and whatever. But at the time, I'm trucking right along. I'm calm, I'm logical, blah, 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 and it's a blessing. I'm so grateful I can do that, because that lets me stand up much more easily than if I were feeling all the things that I could be. And I don't know how you would encourage that in yourself. There has to be other mechanisms I don't know about. Maybe if you can encourage an adrenaline rush, that would do it. And there must be others, because the adrenaline rush explanation was part of what triggered my thinking about what do I do, because I know it's not adrenaline.
Yeah. It's not the flight or fight response. It's
No,
you're
I go numb.
coordinated.
That off until later.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is amazing too. I remember one time when we were here in Korea, and we're having one of our wine and cheese get-togethers, and you had told me a story about when you were in Cambodia, and somehow you got dropped into the middle of a forest, and there was this huge spider web, and these indigenous people, and this is such an amazing story. Could you recap that for me?
Um, it well, it actually was. I think it was about a snake. My fears of a snake. I'd gotten lost. I was on the UN election year in Cambodia in '92, and I worked in a fairly remote village, and I'd been dropped in with the registration cards, actually, because we'd gone in and taken their pictures with the little Polaroids, and then taken them out and gotten them in little plasticized things with all the proper seals and everything, and they had to get them back. And I was dropped in with somebody from the village, but and we began handing them out, and we trotted from village to village. And I mean, really, it was a lovely life, let me tell you. And um, but it was a celebration time, and the rice wine was just being opened,
Ah,
and so my partner began drinking, and it was getting dark, and I said, well, we have to go. And he said, no, I'm not going. And I said, of course we are. Thinking, I mean, here we go with white privilege, just
uh-huh.
because I'm the boss. So I started trotting down the trail thinking he would come after me, that as a my host in this country, as because we were the United Nations team, blah blah blah. Well, he didn't. And so I just kept trotting, and I'd done this trail once before. Come on, it's the jungle. What do I know? And anyway, the story is that I eventually got lost, and it was getting dark, and I could hear drums of a village way over there, and I knew I was never going to get to the path down to the river. Um, and so I remembered I turned left. I guess I could see a little clearing over here. And I turned left, and there were some little small houses. And so I went to the well, and I went into one, and I took the gourds, and I went to the well and started filling it, thinking, I'm stuck here all night. I had a meals ready to eat. I had matches. My big fear was snakes the size, like, I don't know what kind they were, but
Anacondas.
something exotic and gorgeous, but please not in front of me. And I knew I couldn't stay awake all night, even if I made a fire. And so I was thrilled to find these little houses to get into. And I filled up my water bottles. And all of a sudden, I heard the gongs because it was the rice wine festival season. I heard these gongs coming up. They were clanking on the back of their day packs, that they're beautiful basket packs, actually. And as we talk, I'm going to go get one.
Good.
And I went racing down the path, yelling. Gosh, how am I going to find this? I am just keep talking. I'll keep talking. So I was racing down the path, yelling, and all of a sudden I burst out of the trees, and here are these guys, and 3 of them, and they all went, ah, and just literally leaped in the air, because here was this creature, this white wraith popping out of the dark woods.
As in you.
That's me. And it was just too much. But anyway, they rescued me and took me into a village nearby. I'm demonstrating this so we
Wasn't
can
there
look
a huge spider web too? I remember a huge spider web that
Oh, there was. That's right.
an
God,
enormous spider web.
Yes, there was. And it was just horrifying to me. But it did not try to eat me up. It didn't really wrap its web around me or anything. But
Thank
it
goodness.
was really sticky and really big and too much. But here's my basket. Let's see if I can get this in the picture for you.
Oh wow, that's lovely. So
Lovely.
they carry these on their back? Oh, I see.
Yeah,
There's the
this was what I had on my back. Can you
wow.
see? Yes.
That is so unique. I've never that and that brings back so many memories. Okay, we got to model it now. See how this is worn.
This is
Awesome.
word.
That is really cool. I can say I've never seen one of those, but
Yeah,
I'm jealous. I want one too.
I know. Gosh.
That is
So,
really big, isn't it?
oh yeah, it's 3 feet tall.
So say it goes right down the back to your lower back, beyond your lower back almost.
Uh-huh.
Down past your lower back.
Uh-huh.
Look how big that is. Because just sitting there on the desk, I can't see how big it is. That is ginormous. Oh, wow. Holy smokes. 3 feet tall. So you were
I,
loaded down.
well, no, I had my sleeping bag and the cards and my couple meals ready to eat and my water. That's all you needed.
Was it
So,
was in the middle of the night, so you had to sleep out there.
no, it's just getting dusk, and then they discovered me. That's one reason it was so scary for them that I came leaping out of the woods, and they took me off, and I slept on a porch. Um, we put my little mosquito net up, and I crawled into my sleeping bag underneath it. And
I was
the next,
grateful to be rescued and away from the
yeah,
big snakes.
and the next morning, a 6-year-old took me down to the river.
Oh. Since Grand Adventures. There were
Right.
other inspirational people along your way too. Now, if I was visiting you, do I remember a picture with um, Saint Teresa, Mother Teresa?
Yeah.
Tell me about
That,
that.
that was long distance, really. And I was in India. I was working with a craft group, and my job, some people have to do the hard jobs.
Right?
My job was to go to a country, to all the fair trade kinds of craft people, and choose items. One of them in India, oof, I can't remember their names, how awful. But they arrived where I was staying in Delhi. They just arrived.
Yeah.
No, sorry, it was Calcutta. And they just arrived at the apartment or the hotel or whatever it was, sort of unannounced, and said, "Come on, we're going to Sister Teresa." And I said, "Oh, no, I can't go. I don't have any roses." So who knows? I mean, that's kind of an American U.S. thing of honoring people, that are really important in the world. So anyway, I went off and I met her, but that's literally what it was, except that she kind of wafted through the door on this little slant. It was really, she was a little tottery, a little small, and I really couldn't. I mean, she did waft. It was like she floated along on
Wow.
this little.
So I
So
could have floated this way.
yeah,
How
yeah.
do you do
And
that?
I don't know how she did it, but it was. I just. I mean, I did put together some gifts, but it wasn't roses, for God's sakes.
Did she have any words of wisdom for you, or
No, she was just greeting. There were several of us here. There was some suddenly arranged greeting of
maybe one or
various.
two?
I have no idea what the whole arrangement was, but these people in charge of this craft program grabbed me and got me there, which I thought was incredibly kind of them. And
Yes.
she just did a general greeting of and a blessing of me and the organization and the world's poor, and it was lovely.
So did you feel even more inspiration from just being in that realm with everybody and her wafting by?
Well, I mean, she looked like a saint already. Come on, especially if you could waft down the hallway. I mean, that was really pretty good. Um,
Every day
I
you could
just,
waft down the hallway.
I
Climb.
know, but I mean, you can just see it in your mind's eye, can't you? It's like
Yeah.
she didn't even, yeah, and she was pretty special, and so I don't think there was any more immediate thing except that just this consciousness of her presence, you
Right.
know,
So
and
just to be able to know of her adventures and the person that she is in her life's work, and then to be able to be in that consciousness with her for that moment, brief moment.
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
it,
it's
our
really
energies.
special. It's really special.
Yeah.
It, it's just affirming. It's just life affirming to meet people like that and have them. They just sort of make more real the stories you've heard about them. You know the stories are true, but it's
Oh,
more real once you've seen them.
validates it. Yes, absolutely. So, Susan, you are a world traveler, and how many countries have you been blessed to? Have you lost count?
About I have to sleep there overnight, but that might be mm, about 50, I think.
About 50 countries. Wow. So, what's
Between
that
the
you?
craft and the teaching, English language teaching and teacher training, and the human rights stuff and the elections. It's been about 50 countries, I think.
And you started traveling. When was your first international adventure? How old were you?
I went to Mexico when I was 10.
And then on your own?
Oh, um, well, I went back to Mexico sometime when I was in my 30s, I guess. Oh, you know what they did? They opened a road all the way from Tijuana down to Baja.
Uh-huh.
And so um, my mom and I and a friend got on the bus and went all the way down to Cabo San Lucas. And then my mom had had it. So Bobby and I came back, stopping here and stopping there and da 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 da. And and so that was the other time. And that was just traveling. That was not nothing. It wasn't living there. And see, that's the thing. I'm not really a very good tourist. I'll be in a country for about a week, and then either I've had it, I'm tired of moving around, and I can't do another church, and I can't do another museum, and whatever. And and I either want to go home or settle in for at least a couple of months, if not a year.
Yeah,
And so I'd much rather work in another country than I would be a tourist.
right.
So,
So you settled down and plant roots for a few months up to a year in each country, or?
um, well, no, that would be something like I was in Kyrgyzstan for 2 years, one of the ex-Soviets, and I went to over the border to Kazakhstan, to Almaty for a weekend every month for a couple of months. So I count Kazakhstan, even
Sure,
though, but I was working there on the weekends. So
sure, absolutely. How many people can count to say that they were in a place for 3 months? I count that living there.
yeah, yeah.
It's more than a vacation for a week or two. So On your travels then for these different countries, your English teaching and humanities, what would you say was the most inspirational, and how did it inspire you, or how did it impact your life? And there's so many, it's hard to narrow it
That
down, but
I couldn't possibly tell you. Um, the first in '83, I went into Peace Corps and I went to Burkina Faso, and it was, as usual, wonderful. um, but it's always the people that are interesting and wonderful, and it's the people you live with and the people you work with. And bureaucracies are bureaucracies anywhere. I don't care what language they speak. They're not my favorite, but sometimes I can manage. And country politics are, thank heavens, they hardly ever touch me. And I don't try to, that's fine. I just don't. I'm just interested in the people that I'm living and working with. And so in Peace Corps, I was in a small village, and I worked with surrounding villages, village women in weaving and dyes and selling crafts. And in other countries, I've just been interested in the lives of people around me, whether it was the guy that did that made me coffee every morning on my way to work, you know. Do you do that? Any country I'm in, because I'm living alone,
yeah.
I will find a place to have morning coffee, so I have morning smiles, and
Yes.
it's yeah, yeah.
We're always happy when we're getting our coffee, and it's the total opposite if we're not getting our coffee in the
Well,
morning.
it's just the local. It's somebody that sees me every morning and
Yeah.
smiles,
Yeah,
chats me.
they have that, you have that little connection, right? And
Yeah,
that's what it's about too when we're traveling, is just meeting all these people that are connected to us on a soul level, that you may, I'm always sad when I leave, because it's like sad but happy, and you're happy you got to make the connection, but then you know I probably won't be seeing you again. But how lovely to connect for that moment in time
oh
with
yeah,
another soul.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's really
So
important to go say thank you and farewell to as many as you can, because it matters to them as much as it does to me.
no, absolutely. That's what it's all about. So tell me, going back into, for people who are trying to find the courage or the inspiration to stand in the truth and to make those choices, how how do you know when you're presented with many different paths, which one to take? When your mother told you way back when you were little to stand in your truth and then own it, and to have that guidance for you, how do you know when it's right, what path to take? Is there a little voice in your head that says this way, Susan, or
If,
what can you
if
give to our
Well,
viewers?
there's different kinds of answers, at least to that. One is that if it's an ethical choice, I have, as you know, I have a fairly highly developed sense of ethics.
This is
All my interpretation, thank you, but I can back every one of them up with a fact.
good.
Um, and my so just so people know, my basic overriding thing is the greater good.
Yes.
But that includes everything from the top of the mountain I'm looking out at over here to you and everybody, the kids that you're teaching, or adults, whomever they are. And um, and those are fairly easy choices for me. I may have to spend some time thinking them out.
Mhm.
Um, the other kind of choice um, is if it's a serious work issue or a fun thing, I'll go for the fun every time.
Ah, awesome. Yes. So, for the greater good of humanity, Earth, its inhabitants, would be the first consideration. And then the next choice
The
is,
earth would come before humanity. The humans are really a very small part of the tree of life.
yes.
And we I feel we haven't managed our greater brains, our greater flexibility of limbs and opposing thumbs, and all of this stuff, we're not really making smart choices. And we're actually having a negative impact on a lot of it. Without the earth, humans can just, just hang their head and cry, frankly. Or even the bees. When the bees are gone, so are we. So um, I go for earth first, and humans are a very important part of it. But in fact, we're not the most important part. We have to keep in our minds and our efforts that all the other plants and critters are just as equally important.
And so really a
It's a,
cause and effect relationship.
it is. It's a network we don't even really understand.
Right.
Mm-mm.
And we're the biggest abusers of the earth. And it just I know I feel that you probably feel like I do when I see these documentaries on the plastics that are in the ocean and the species that it's killing and what we're doing with the Costa Rican forests. I know you've been there too as well, cutting down the trees and then this whole ecosystem that's just because of our consumption of, products that everybody needs, seems to think they need. And so that I agree with you that I am a huge tree hugger. I love the earth and I feel and have you had some works with the Native Americans and their studies, their philosophies of giving back to the earth? Have you had the benefit of
But before we do that, I want to go back
oh, please.
just to this whole earth stuff. There's a whole trend or school of thought about learning to upcycle things so that when you build a machine, it's built only with parts. Any product is built only with parts that are pure in themselves so that they can be separated out and then upcycled into other products afterwards. And this is not gaining ground the way I'd hoped it would about 10 years ago when I first began reading about this. The phrase is called upcycling. Occasionally you'll hear it. Some of the websites from 10 years ago are gone. I'm quite stressed about that. Um, Science is incredibly important to read in. It's fascinating too. Natural sciences, the hard sciences, there's lots of people writing things in a way that any one of us can understand. They're not demeaning the science, they're explaining it beautifully. And I don't hang on to it all, but I know it counts in the background and it helps inform my whole ability to function and to make ethical choices and to think logically and creatively. So that's very important as part of caring about the earth is that we are within our own realm as human beings, we're making these kinds of upcycling choices from the beginning. We're about 150 years too late on this, but we better get cracking.
We don't have much longer. And you've done a lot of work with the native indigenous flowers there in your home state,
Native
as
plant.
well as I know you when you were in here, Korea, you did the indigenous
Yes,
birds
yes,
and
yes. The whole Sungnam Marsh. That was the United Nations conference, World Conference,
yes.
and I worked with a group called Birds Korea, which is still there, and I'm sure they would love your help. Um, and they put on an English camp, nature camp for kids, and we had scopes and gathering baskets and art paper and we had games of all sorts. Um, and that was wonderful. And then Birds Korea produced a booklet that Chungnam, the county of Chungnam, put out in support of the conference. It's called COP, COP. That was COP 10, I think. There's a different focus through the UN on a different area of interest each year. And I can't remember what COP means. That's on the web. You'll find it easily. But they focus on different things. And that year it was wetlands. And so birds are very important, but so is the wetlands and all of the critters
Sure.
in it,
Yeah.
the interlocking of the ecosystem. So that was great. Yeah. Yeah, I've done that all my life wherever I could. And that was a really stellar experience.
And you've taught yoga everywhere. Did I remember a tree house or something in Hawaii, some tropical place?
I don't remember a treehouse, but I do remember yoga.
Are you still doing yoga?
Oh, yes, every Tuesday morning.
Now I know there's many practices of yoga. Which form do you practice, or is it a combination?
it becomes a combination after a while, and every teacher begins developing their own things. The woman and the group that I do yoga with every Tuesday, she's very skillful about what the effects on individual parts of your body. So if you have a back pain, she'll work with you on. She has so much knowledge at this point, so much studies, and she does stuff that is, you learn these new exercises that would have taken you hours or days, but she's put years into it, and she does it. You tell her Tuesday, on Friday you're in there having your private session, and then you're doing these exercises every day.
That's
So
amazing. So
she's one.
do you
It's amazing.
feel, what is your practice to connecting the mind, body, spirit? So there's yoga. Do you meditate as well?
No,
No
my
meditation.
mind doesn't slow down. I bicycle or I walk,
Mhm.
and in the summer I swim here in the pond. Um, but I like the flow. That's a kind of a flow. It's another kind of meditation. It's just like prayer is a kind of meditation.
Yes,
I think silent prayer. Um, well, I don't know about that. Prayer is also a meditation. Yeah.
it is. So I know for Tai Chi for me is a
Mm,
form of meditation. Once you have the body mind that knows the format, the kata, and just goes through it, where I actually can leave my body, and it's still doing its thing, but I'm out on a meditative state. So
yeah.
yoga maybe is that way. I've heard for a lot of people.
Hmm.
I've tried some yoga, but I'm concerned that maybe I might have to dial 911 in some certain positions that I.
Well, I don't think it's useful to do yoga on your own until you really have. I mean, I've done yoga for 40 years at least now.
Wow.
And it's, so I can do lots of stuff. And I have a hyperextended body, so I'm incredibly flexible. Too flexible, but never mind. And, but you really need a teacher who knows what they're doing
Yes.
because you can't see you just can't see.
Yeah,
What,
that's true. You need to have someone to pattern after to get it right.
and put you in. Yeah. Today we did this is a Tuesday here, and we did a thing. We were doing all the basic warrior poses in very slow motion, and for for some of the poses we put our backs up against the wall. And the thing is, when you're doing it on your own, you're always like this. Even if you move your arm back, your
Chest.
is still here. It doesn't move back like that. And the minute you're on the wall, you think, wow, have I been messing up? So,
All these years, who knew?
yeah, well, I'm sure I've been corrected before, but now I can see the difference in this and this,
Oh, wow. Just that
Yeah.
slight little angle. Everything changes.
Yes, just because you have to stay on the wall.
And Susan, maybe we could even apply that theory towards, I think it was Wayne Dyer says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? So just that
Oh, yeah.
little shift in our perspective of the way we look at life even can open up so many windows. And on that thought, um,
Well, right
wisdom,
there, instead of always saying the way I look at something, I know how I look at it, and that's always the way I look at it. So I guess I better try looking at it from that person's viewpoint.
yeah, so being on the other end of the spectrum.
If you can describe what they're feeling or what they're trying to say based on what they're hearing from you.
So what are some advice when a lot of our students are going to be going through the ego land, and the layers of the onion of their emotions that have been built up over the years, their emotional baggage from interacting with their family and their friends, things that have happened to them. So as they're dealing with the ego and letting go of these emotions and these events in their life, what advice could you maybe extend in your own personal experience to how they can deal with this unraveling of themselves and coming to a higher version of themselves?
Well, um, well, first of all, you have to give up blaming anybody else real quick. And
Yes.
even if it doesn't sound like blame in your mind or in your mouth, you're the only one that's responsible for what you do. And one of the things when I became clear on how clever and good my mom had been at raising me, the fact that I just realized very early on that you can't blame your parents for your own behavior. You can say, I wish they'd done something different, but since they didn't, I'm going to. And it's kind of like looking at for a colony, an ex-colony in another continent,
Right.
or even in Central or South America. Because they're still pretty much stuck in the sphere of influence of the U.S. But they, at some point, have to get over, the African colonies, the Asian colonies, had to get over, we hope they are getting over, blaming the colonizer. It just doesn't work. It wasn't so great what the colonizers did. It was of the time. We don't think so. It's so great now.
Yeah.
But you have to get on with your own life and realize you're in a totally different time and space.
Yes.
And be responsible for that and reach out to make strong connections to help all of you move forward.
So it's taking accountability. It's the story that Portia told us where you see the hole, you fall in the hole. Everybody else put me in this hole, and then eventually you see the hole, you fall in the hole, and you go, wait a minute, I know this hole. And then eventually after you fall in that hole enough times, you go, oh, wait a minute, I put me here. It's through my choices. So you take accountability, you stop pointing the finger and point it back at yourself.
Yeah.
And go, okay, I made choices. I get to live a direct result of those choices. So now I can move on from here.
And I can love those that I used to blame for putting me there because they didn't. They were doing the best they could too, given what they knew.
And do you feel that people are in our paths? Every single person we meet is in our path for a special reason?
Not especially. I just think they might be there, and they might have wonderful things to say to us.
So,
but you have to be able to engage them as them and not some scary person over there that you don't know, or who knows what it is. Some more beautiful than you, more accomplished than you, more intelligent than you. None of that counts because it's only within their own realm. It has nothing to do with your intelligence, your beauty, whatever it is.
And it's really natural for humans to compare themselves to other people and to see how they measure up. And that's that natural, am I valid? Am I good enough? That sort of thing. And I like your perspective when you say, when you encounter somebody, to feel what they're feeling, kind of put yourself in their shoes. So with our folks out there that are dealing with relatives or friends or bosses or coworkers who are tyrants or bullies or they're depressed, what is your approach when you encounter somebody who is a tyrant or who is depressed? How would you approach them so that, because I know it feels to me like your philosophy is no harm, to do no harm to people, to the earth, to the inhabitants, which
Well, yeah, but that's not totally realistic. I mean, one does.
Yeah, you try not to.
And minimize it. But if someone's a tyrant, you can try as much logic, as much courtesy, as much options, as many options as your position allows you. If you're passing them on the road and you make some comment about them beating their kid, they're either going to hit you or they're going to scream at you. It's not going to be real effective. A better avenue you need to find some other avenue. If it's your boss, it's very difficult. I have left jobs where there were tyrants because I don't feel like I have really great skills at sitting there in silence and smiling. Oh, yeah, I'll try to improve, And so
when you do that, you put yourself
a lot of things
down.
and you just have to get out of some situations. Mm-hmm. And it's perfectly all right to leave. It's perfectly all right not to successfully manage everything. Speaking as a woman, I think it's easier for women to understand that we often don't have the power And so it's easier for me to leave a situation than it is a lot of men who would probably get into a fight. There are times I have to watch my mouth, which could get me into a fight. But that's about as dangerous as I'm ever going to get. And it's not really constructive if you want to build anything.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
the nasty mouth is just not really helpful. Um, in terms of bullies, other than saying no and stop it, again, I would leave because, I mean, come on, I'm 115 pounds. I'm just not going to be too impressive around here. So,
So removing yourself from the formula, it's
yeah.
it's where you invest your energy. So if you're in a situation that is is not conducive to the path that you're on, or how you direct your life with your integrity, and there's I find the older I get, the more choosy I am of who and what I invest my energies into. Um,
Absolutely.
so if there is a tyrant, and I'm like you, Susan, where I have quit jobs because the boss was unethical, and I can see where those unethics were spilling over into my space, and I just did not want to be a part of it. So I would say, okay, I'm leaving now. Good luck with whatever you're doing. But with tyrants, I will just send them a blessing that I hope that they find peace, or they find the awareness that will take them out of this emotional cycle that they're in, right? But I choose not to be because it's not our job to fix anyone, right? We're here to just be a higher version of ourselves and learn from our experiences. And with that thought, I would like to ask you, what advice or what words of wisdom could you provide for our generation out there and our younger generations that's coming up? Because it seems that we're losing this human connection, and we're so into the technology these days that people have forgotten who they are or why we're here. So what have you learned from your experiences and interaction with the people on your path, the earth, and what words of wisdom could you give on both those fronts? I know that's a big topic, so we'll tackle one. First, let's start
Well,
with all the people. Words of wisdom about going through your life and people that you'll encounter.
I think it's best, and I definitely think it's best now. The more direct you can be, the better. I would rather pick up the phone than do 1,000 one-line emails back and forth, back and forth. And I do that. People send me an email. What do you think? Do you think I should? And I'll just pick up the phone because it's going to be 1,000 one-liners, and I can't stand it. But I'd rather talk with them in person. I think Skype like this is brilliant. Um, it's. I mean, since we can't sort of meet over Hawaii at the moment, um, but that would be nice too. But so that's really great, and I think that personal contact, and you find that in nature. You find that species like to cling together, to be grouped together, and they grow better if they are. You find animals at least have an extended family pack, if not a whole colony. Um, it's and it doesn't have to be best buddy all the time, but that somebody to smile at you at the cafe every morning when you have coffee, that's a wonderful gift. And it makes them happy too that they know they're really setting you up for the day. They always know it.
Yeah.
And I mean that's what their job is service and food, and it's really nice. And so that's in terms of how to reach out. That reaching out is important, person to person. I live on a hilltop with um, half a dozen houses with old people in them, and they're all very isolated. Um, I find it exhausting having to do their garbage every week because they're too old and creaky to do it. But I'm not willing. I have a good neighbor policy, and I'm also not willing, since we live in the woods, I'm not willing to have rats or bears at anybody's house. So, um, and that's they just don't reach out to people. People can get themselves too isolated, and that's part of my fears about um, all the technology and not the person to person. Then words of wisdom you wanted. Words of wisdom. Oy vey. That's really depending on personal cultural styles and personal predilections. Mine, well, I said earlier, if it's work, if there's a choice of work or work with fun, I'm going with fun. Um, and that's one reason I've gotten all around the world. But, well, I think my mom's raising me with stand on your own 2 feet, look at all the options, make your choice, and take the consequences is really useful. If I hadn't had that from her, I don't know if I would have realized, or at least not as soon as I did, that you just can't. And the first one we always blame is our parents, but you can't blame your parents forever. And guess what? You can't blame anybody else forever. You know, it's not just your parents, it's everybody. So to accomplish that, it is really important to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and try to figure out how you are coming across to them. So you can say, wait, I'm afraid I'm being a little overpowering here. I know I can do that only too well. And so I'll back up and try to say that differently.
Yes.
And
So
apology to the person is really important. Saying, even if you have to say, I'm not clear on what I did exactly, but I know I'm real upset that I did it. And we got into this. It wasn't just you, and it wasn't just me, but we got into this. And I'm really sorry that I've done, even though I can't quite figure it out, I'm just really sorry. And I want to try to get this sorted out with you.
So owning your mistakes.
Yeah, but doing it so that you don't want to say, it's all me and I'm terribly sorry, I'll never do it again. Well, I probably will do it again. And, I had some kind of provocation I can look at and try to ameliorate that in the future. But fights are at least two sides. There are as many sides to a fight as there are people in them. And you have to, it's not just them, it's you as well.
Sure. It takes two sides of the story, right?
At least two, yeah.
How about the earth? I was telling my students we were doing a section on recycling, and I told them the story about the woman on the beach with the starfish. You've probably heard about where she's picking up the starfish and she's throwing one back into the ocean at a time, and a man comes along. He says, "You silly woman, you can't save all those starfish." And she says, "But I can this one, and I can save this one, like one at a time, right?" And for those of us who want to go out there and make a difference with the earth or with each other along the way, I'm always at the philosophy of do no harm, but it seems to be so overwhelming. We become apathetic and we shut down and we do become isolated because it's overwhelming with all the media and things that you can absorb on a day-to-day basis. But we can make a difference.
You can turn the media off.
Yes.
If it's discombobulating you, turn it off.
Absolutely. So it's about choices, about what you allow into your space, into your personal space. So what would be your words of wisdom or advice for people who do on the path of wanting to make a difference with the earth or with humanity? How do you go about that personally? Because I know you've made a difference everywhere you go. And even like you said, if it's just smiling at the person who's making your coffee and having that little interaction, how can people in their lives make a difference that's doable, and not close down and shut down and feel like hopeless and apathetic towards our earth situation and the population in general, people in general?
Well, since we're here, we might as well do it well, right?
Yeah.
And if you're stuck, because we all get stuck and in despair and overwhelmed and whatever, but just keep in mind, as long as we're here, we might as well do it well.
Yes.
And choose something, whatever it is. Doing your neighbor's garbage, paying for the toll in the car in back of you, joining a group that doesn't seem to be doing much, but or maybe it's doing wonders and you feel like you can't do much, but you can by joining in. I mean, just start with whatever it is that's nearby. And if you're stuck, because I was pretty much stuck last year for a variety of reasons, and I think I'm pretty much out of it now, and I'm thrilled, but um, just do whatever you can, but also allow yourself downtime. And if you've come out of it before, you're probably going to come out of it again. If this is the first time you're down and immobilized, guess what? Most human beings, 99% of all human beings, pull themselves out of it because time passes.
Yes.
And the earth changes and things get better. And the 1% of the world that's mentally disturbed permanently is really small, and most of us are not in that group, and we don't suddenly fall into it because some big issue has loomed up. And if it has, if it's some big issue, go get help.
Right. Don't, we're not meant to go through it
Go to
alone.
a therapist, go to a doctor, go to, then there's religious counselors. A friend of mine is a religious counselor. I thought, religious counselors? What do you know? And it doesn't even matter that, I mean, she's spiritual if you're spiritual, but there's a whole group of them,
Sure.
and they deal with human issues that come up, and it doesn't have to be church related at all. They don't even insist that you belong to a church. It's
Sure.
just they recognize the human issues come up, and they have a particular balance point that they're operating from, and they don't do religion on your. I mean, it's amazing.
It's lovely. It's that mind, body, spirit connection. It's all connected. And if
Yeah,
one part of it is out of alignment, we're all out of alignment, right? With ourselves. If the
yeah.
body's not healthy, it throws off the mind and the spirit. If the spirit's unhealthy or in a depressed, dark place, that's going to throw off the body. It causes the diseases in the body. So it's all interconnected. So when we're looking at higher evolution of self and that self-improvement path that it seems we're constantly on, we must consider these three elements. And like with your practices doing yoga and you're walking, that's connecting the mind and body and the spirit, because you're allowing the monkey mind to process, you're allowing the body to move and stay healthy, and then you're getting into that quiet place where you can maybe have some reflection and some answers that come to you to some situations that you might be trying to solve. Is that correct?
Mhm. Yeah, kind of. I think it's a little different, but that works as an explanation. And there's another thing. If you're stuck someplace and everybody's really different than you because you don't know everybody in the world, if you want to do something and there's nobody around to do it with you, to invite you into their group, then start the group yourself. If you want to go dancing on Friday nights, if there's, you can put it on the meetup. You can put it on meetups, you can put it in your little local newspaper, you can put it on your little local radio community time, but start it yourself, and you'd be surprised how many people will show up and how that will build.
Because if you're thinking that thought, it's possible somebody else is thinking that thought too,
Yeah.
and wondering what's out there. Yeah, absolutely. Special interest. So you recommend finding a group that aligns with where you want to be or who you are or what you're interested in. And if there's not one, get out there and start one.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's so easy on meetups now. It's amazing.
yeah, that is a great site for sure. So there's a lot of inspirational things there. And Susan, I would love to be the ghostwriter in your book, in your autobiography, because you just have had such an amazing life, and you inspire me. You've inspired me. I have
Well,
told so
I
many
don't
of my
quite
friends about you.
glad. It's
What's
just because
that?
I'm 1,000 years. It's just because I'm 1,000 years older than you. That's all.
Well, you're not. Hey, that's only an earth thing. We know that we are timeless. We are limitless. We are powerful beings, right? So inside of us is that 20-year-old. I don't ever want to lose that young part of me. And I have one of my co-teachers that calls me Granny because I am even older than the owner of the. And I remember you and I had this discussion when you were teaching in Korea and the things that they were presenting to you. But you know what? Respect, because we have not been through this rodeo alone, where we've got many rodeos we've been through, and that's one thing I really appreciate about the Korean culture is that they do respect their elders, and I respect you, and now I'm kind of getting some respect, but I'm ascending to the light, and you're going into the darkness here. The sun is coming
Yeah,
through
yeah.
here. I'm the girl of the future, and you're into the past. There, see how you are? But absolutely, I would love to be a co-writer or a ghostwriter on your book some days. Please put that little seed into your mind because there has to be a book out there about the memoirs of Susan Sunflower's life and where you've been 50 countries. Golly, the story about Erica, your Mother Teresa, just the Cambodian forest, everywhere is such an inspiration to me. And I know it's going to be an inspiration for a lot of people who are going to be watching this video. And
Well, I but your own life, whomever you are out there, it's pretty special, and just live it fully. And and if things aren't going your way, then make changes. Reach out, make changes. Start your own play group to dance, to make pottery, to go hiking, to I don't know.
just whatever, just to people who are in that place of their life where change is very difficult or they feel like they have brick walls all around them, to just don't look at the whole staircase but just that first step, right?
Yeah,
One
that's a good.
small change at a time, and then they just keep building upon that, right? That's what I've kind of found too. So wow, Susan, thank you so much for your time. I've kept you here
Well,
for
thank
over an hour and I'm so blessed.
you. Yeah, what do you know? Um, well, I think it's really exciting what you're doing over there. I'm so glad. I hope you get off to the Olympics. That'll be
Yes,
amazing.
actually, we're leaving tonight for the Olympics. So,
Oh, good. Okay,
my son lives here. He's lived here now for 7 years. So he and I are going to go freeze to death. Hopefully not
yeah,
freeze to death, but all of our events we're attending are outdoors. So I've got 5,000 layers of thermals I'm going to put on with every
good.
sweater I could possibly put over under my big coat, and
Yeah,
I will be there. And I'm super
great.
excited. Great time to be in Korea for sure.
Yeah.
So I thank you for being our first interview, and I hope that I can join you again for another interview because there's so much to talk about, and I will be even a better interviewer at that point. So,
You're doing well. Don't
oh,
worry
thank
about
you.
them.
I had an amazing person to interview. How could I possibly fail?
You
Susan,
know.
thank you so much. Thank you for your shares, and I hope to see you again very soon. Peace
Take
and love,
care.
and happy Valentine's Day.
And
Bye. Bye for now.
you.